Long have men debated over ethics, morals, metaphysics. For thousands of years, these topics have been scrutinized, analyzed, and labored over. So too have players of Team Fortress 2 spoken on every possible topic of this positively ancient game. Every weapon, every pixel of every map has been dissected until nothing but the bones remain. So I thought I'd throw my hat in the ring. This is a video about milk, and the Sisyphean task of keeping your teammates alive with it in MvM. But philosophy is useless without application. We can debate the ethics of milk in the spawn room, but the robots don't care about our metaphysical claims. They only care about blowing us sky high. This is Tour 12. I am your scholar.
Dancing is forbidden.
And today, the philosophy of the scout isn't just a theory. It's the only thing keeping us from an inevitable failure. We're still hunting that gold, and today's lesson in suffering starts on Rottenberg. Camus once wrote that one must imagine Sisyphus happy. He was, of course, referring to the MvM scout. We are cursed to run in circles, collecting the currency of a war that never ends, only for teammates to spend it on knockback rage and burn time. But the true burden isn't just the money, it's the milk. The expectations placed upon a single jar of non-milk substance are, quite frankly, staggering. If you speak to anyone before throwing yourself into the blender of toxicity and man-children that is man-up mode with the intention of playing scout, one of the first things you will hear is to run mad milk within your loadout. And with good reason. This unassuming jar, returning 60% of damage delta's health to the attacker, can be the most consistent and quickest form of healing that is found within MvM, and TF2 more generally. But, just like Machiavelli's realism, this extremely potent substance can be misused. But first, in this time-worn battlefield, every action is recorded in the annals of the comment section, a digital library of Alexandria that, thankfully, has yet to burn. To further our understanding of this mechanical purgatory, we look to the question of the day. Dollar Stupid had answered last week's question with Disposable Sentry. So too did Falk mid-1879, a very scholarly name. It's Jack and a Half said metal regen is kinda obsolete, which he is correct about. And Petey the Pete, being a little bit of a sheep, said gas passer explode or explode on headshot. But I appreciate his input nevertheless. This leads me to the new question of the day. What is the ugliest cosmetic in Team Fortress 2? Sort of an inverse of one I asked recently about your favorite hat. What is your least favorite? Tell me that. But until that's answered, the record is clear. There is no consensus on the mountain. And so, we must seek our own answers through the most implicitly gross substance in TF2 history. Now let's talk about the milk. The common man, the pub scout, believes the milk should be thrown whenever the cooldown expires. This is the hedonistic approach. It feels good in the moment, but it leaves you empty when greater threats arrive. To milk is to make a choice, a moral choice. If I milk the small bots now, am I neglecting the future health of my teammates? Is a teammate's life at risk now more than a teammate's life in 30 seconds? Socrates had no answer, but I do. If you have sense enough to be able to turn a doorknob, and I know that is asking a lot of basement-dwelling gamers who shun the sun more than vampires, then you should expect that the answer is when my teammate's health is low. This assumption is fine on the surface, but has some trouble upon some scrutiny. How do you know when your teammate is low? Are you turning to look at everyone's health at every moment? Furthermore, will the milk you've just tossed reach the target fast enough to give that life-saving health your teammate so desperately needs? Most commonly, you do not keep a consistent enough track of your teammate's health to know when it is low. And if you did notice your teammate being shredded to bits by a giant soldier, the milk will not help them. Since if they have any self-preservation instinct, they will have turned tail to run, not dealing the damage they need to in order to reap the benefits off of your sodden victims. So then your next thought would be closer in line to the truth. You throw the milk at big threats, before they've dealt any damage to your teammates, to keep them healthy in the middle of combat. But what constitutes a big threat? Giants are an easy one. If there is only one coming out, you milk them. Your teammates stay alive indefinitely so long as their damage output outpaces a giant's generally burst damage. But if it were truly that simple, then I wouldn't see so many heathens out there letting their teammates suffer completely avoidable deaths. And let me make this clear, this is a thing I do, personally, throughout this series. But at least I understand what I'm doing wrong, and after I go into a bit more detail, you will as well. So we know that giants are a prime candidate for milking, but what if there is more than one? Many waves in MvM put out several giants in tow of one another, such as Cataclysm Wave 5, since one giant is typically easy to deal with. In these situations, I tend to hold on to the milk until the second or third giant is walking out, especially if your team sports a medic for the damage mitigation that he provides. When the game does throw out several giants in your face all at once, it is usually later in the mission when your teammates have sufficient upgrades to kill these giants quickly. Milking the first one in line is a waste since he ends up dying before dealing any noteworthy damage, and even if the milk's cooldown is maxed out, once the giant is dead, there is no health to be gained, and the milk dies with him, leaving any damage that follows in his wake much more permanent. Now, your teammates have plenty of access to damage mitigation of their own. Projectile deflection for heavy, conch charges for soldier, dispensers with maxed out range, even health on kill, where your teammates sacrifice the giant's entourage as health packs. But it is important not to rely on any of that when you have the most powerful healing item in MvM on your class within your hands. Your teammates' survivability can be bolstered to a much larger degree if you learn how to time your tosses. Another threat that warrants milk is large groups. It shouldn't need to be stated that not all large groups of robots are created equally. Bat Scouts, even if they are critted, Demo Knights, KGB Heavies, all should not pose enough of a threat to any teammate worth their salt that you should need to milk any of these. Health on kill should be more than enough sustained to keep their heads above water, and if they are foolish enough to perish to one of these hilarious threats, then it is well deserved, because right around the corner could be a group actually worth milking. Soldier bots, demo bots, heavy bots. These are all extremely high damaging groups that can melt through your team even with proper resistances. Often, even the milk isn't enough to sustain through the burst damage of a dozen rockets heading to one destination, but paired with health on kill and the healing teammates gain from damaging them, they can be withstood. Better still to have someone actually kill them and thin the herd before they can realize their potential. But that is the tragedy of the Scout's burden. You must provide the salvation for a team that is often too preoccupied with their own hubris to save themselves. You throw the milk not because they deserve it, but because the alternative, the failure of a mission, is a weight too heavy even for Atlas to bear. And then comes the moment of Scout apostasy, when the milk may be forsaken. If your team has reached mechanical nirvana where healing is irrelevant, or conversely, a state of such profound incompetence that no amount of white substance can save them, it is acceptable to shirk the burden. You can equip Criticola for tank waves devoid of threats, or swap to Bonk mid-wave to collect unreachable cash, and accept that some souls simply cannot be washed clean. In MvM, the golden mean is the balance you strike when you've efficiently doled out your finite credits to maximize survivability and damage output. To that end, what upgrades to the milk help to lift the Scout's burden? Fortunately for this smooth-brained philosopher, the Mad Milk only has two. A 4-tick cooldown reduction upgrade at 15% for 250 credits a pop, and a 1-tick slow applied to targets for 200. The milk has a 20-second cooldown by default, reduced to 8 seconds with all ticks of the cooldown reduction purchased. This does mean that the effect of the milk lasts longer than the cooldown for it, allowing you to throw it endlessly like a simpleton, which is exactly what I told you not to do at the beginning. Stop that right this instant. This upgrade comes at the steep cost of $1,000, however. This $1,000 could be better spent on maxing out a single resistance for your character with $100 left to spend, or upgrading 1 tick of each scattergun damage related upgrade with $200 left to spend. Either of those options will increase your uptime as the Scout, which will keep you active during the moments where the team might actually need the healing output, and you, as the Scout player, can actually benefit from the latter upgrades, since Scout is either constantly overhealed or his base 125 health is renounced faster than Aristotle rejected the core of Plato's theory of forms, arguing that universal truth exists within the physical world rather than in a separate heavenly realm, meaning Scout does not get to heal himself with his own milk very often. So the cooldown upgrade, while seemingly beneficial, turns out to be quite superfluous, especially when you know how to time your milk for maximum value. The $200 slow on target upgrade is a different case, although still a bit niche in its application. $200 flat is a lot easier to justify spending money on, since you will not be forfeiting any more powerful upgrades in favor of it unless your team's economy is in a poor state. However, the actual usefulness of this upgrade is going to vary greatly from lobby to lobby. You will only be valuing this upgrade to slow down super scouts, which can end waves, and by extension, the missions of many low-tour teams. This then gives the already burdened scout another viable target for his milk to be tossed at, which may or may not be problematic depending on the wave composition. Generally speaking, your team should be able to handle several super scouts in succession fairly easily, or at least do enough damage to where you can run them down and finish them off without much hassle. For the teams that seem to be completely incapable of that, the slow on target can be a great addition to your toolset, saving waves in a different way than milk normally would. But whether you optimize your cooldowns or master the slow, the result remains the same: a return to the mountain. We do this tour after tour, wave after wave, seeking the golden weapon that probably doesn't exist for us today. It is a meaningless cycle, but in that cycle we find meaning in the perfect toss. We find virtue in the credits we collect, and if we are not rewarded, we just roll the stone back up the hill for 2 or 13. For our troubles we have received a fat 6-2, basically. A paltry sum, but just about the expected bounty for the burden we have shouldered. The burden of credits gathering, the burden of keeping apes alive, the burden of the milk. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the different pacing and style. Something fresh to keep the series interesting, but make no mistake, it's still the same journey, still the same rules, and we're still chasing the same Australian. Answer the question of the day, subscribe if you haven't, and have a wonderful day. Bye now.